Let's take you back to the football. Lawyers representing Manchester United fans will today complain to the Office of Fair Trading over the rising cost of season tickets at Old Trafford. Fans are unhappy at increases of up to 60% since the Glazers took over in 2005 and the automatic cup scheme the club has imposed. Well, United's most expensive season ticket this season is £912. The cheapest is £494. On average, season ticket prices have gone up 6.5% since last season. Well, fans buying these season tickets must also purchase tickets for FA Cup and Champions League games, which aren't included in the package. That could cost up to £502 more. So in total, Manchester United season ticket holders are being asked to pay up to £1,414. Well, for more on that, we can cross to our man, James Cooper, who's at Old Trafford. James.
Yeah, good morning and welcome back to Old Trafford. First thing to make very, very clear is that the Glazer family aren't taking anything about this whatsoever. They're making no comments, and neither are Manchester United at this stage, though I think if the Office of Fair Trading look at this very seriously and make some sort of decree or announcement about this, I think that position might change. But let's look at what Manchester United Shareholders Trust are talking about and their complaints a little bit more in depth and their accusations about the Glazer family. To do that, someone who knows an awful lot more about me about these sort of situations, it's Professor Tom Cannon from Liverpool University. And firstly, Tom, look at the depth of this and the people involved who put this together. This isn't just a ragtag bunch of fans with a gripe. They seem to have very reasoned and prepared arguments.
Very much so. I mean, what you've got is an outstanding corporate lawyer, a lawyer who specialises in football matters, and a very, very well-focused solicitor. So this is a strong team who, in my opinion, have a case that the Office of Trading will have to consider.
It's almost working out how the OFT ticks. If you get that, you've almost sorted the problem, haven't you?
You've put your finger on it. The truth is that the Office of Fair Trading do have discretion on an issue like this, and it's a matter of whether they exercise their discretion. I suspect they will exercise their discretion, not just because I think if you look at the detail of their case, there is elements which are clearly unfair, the automatic ticket scheme. But I actually believe Lord Mandelson might take a different approach to this kind of issue in the current climate and exercise what authority he has, perhaps to persuade, frankly, the Office of Fair Trading to look at this closely.
You're not a Manchester United fan, so you can be objective. You are a football fan. Does this open up a much broader issue in terms of ticket pricings and maybe the small monopolies that these clubs kind of represent?
Absolutely. Particularly if you look at the current climate where Premiership clubs in particular are looking very, very closely at how they can generate more revenues, particularly those ones that have been acquired recently. And don't forget, two of the key elements of this is, one, the promises the Glazers made about ticket pricing, which are in line with the kind of comments Hicks and Gillette have made and others have made when they've bought clubs about controlling ticket prices, and they clearly haven't met those requirements. And secondly, schemes like the automatic ticket scheme, which you couldn't do anywhere else other than in football, anywhere else than where you have basically a monopoly over the loyalty of your fans.
Let's look at it from the Glazers' perspective. A hard thing to do and a very easy thing to pick holes in what they're doing simply because they're a long way away and don't say very much. But are they just acting as shrewd businessmen and women and saying, look, let's get as much as we can and also pay off our debt?
To some degree they're doing that. But don't forget, they may well be shrewd businessmen, but they're also basically exploiting a situation which is exploitable because of the situation that football's in. And what you have here is a situation in which basically football wants its cake and eat it. It wants basically regulators, taxmen, to look at them very generously because they're part of the community. But then basically it wants to exploit opportunities to take as much money out off fans and in a sense to capitalise on this community thing. They want their cake and eat it, and I think an awful lot of people are turning around and saying, well, you can have your cake but you can't eat it, and basically you've got to act as a business or act as part of the community, but you can't be in both camps at once.
Looking on the outside, it seems what they're trying to do is almost walk a fine line between filling this place, which they're doing very well, bringing success to Manchester United, but also making sure they get as much as they can on the tickets. I mean, it looks a fairly cynical policy, but is that accurate?
I think it's a fine line, but I don't know whether they're walking the fine line quite as carefully as you're implying. The truth of the matter is that when they acquired Manchester United, they made some very clear promises. And those promises were on ticket pricing, those promises were on the kind of ways in which the club would operate. And I don't believe that they're delivering on those promises. Equally, frankly, the law is very clear. The law is very clear that you have to engage in fair practices when you're dealing with your customers and your clients. That's why we have an Office of Fair Trading. And I think things like the automatic ticket scheme doesn't seem fair by any rule or approach that I've ever seen in business. It may well be something that you can do in American football, but they don't have our equivalent of a notion of fair trading. And that's why I believe it probably is an unfair scheme, and I don't think that the OFT could possibly sustain it within the current competition regulations that they're supposed to enforce.
So just a final point, using your expertise and your experience and your instincts, this goes further than just making headlines, does it? The OFT take this seriously?
I would be surprised if the OFT simply rebutted this. I think the political climate at the moment is such that people want to look more closely at football. I think the economic climate is that people are being very much more protective of consumers, and I think in the current climate it will be a brave OFT that basically either put it on the back burner or rejected it out of hand.
Professor Tom Cannon, thanks very much. I've been lucky to see that document. That document has now wended its way via email and courier to the Office of Fair Trading. It's now up to them whether they take this matter further, but certainly fans here at Manchester United are anxious that this becomes more than just headlines, it becomes some sort of momentum.